Nick Brunner here with a brand new tutorial on how to create this grass wind animation in Unreal Engine 5. I've been using Unreal Engine for a couple months now, and I've been learning so much in that time. And during that time, I created this simple animation that you see right here. So I wanted to make it into a tutorial for everyone. So let's get into it. Okay, so with Unreal Engine pulled up here, we're going to go ahead and go to Film, Video, and Live Events. This will give us a blank canvas that we can work on. And I'm going to enable ray tracing and go ahead and set your project to wherever you want in your file path and whatever name you want to give it. And go ahead and click on Create. Okay, so with Unreal Engine pulled up, this is our blank scene right here, and this is what we're going to get started on right now. So we're going to use this ground floor as kind of a base ground floor for our grass to sit on, and then we'll add some more detail with a rock wall kind of in the back here, as you saw. Okay, so with our blank scene here, we're going to start with the sky, and we're going to actually change some of the sky that's here right now. So I'm going to actually get rid of the sky sphere and the skylight. So go ahead and hit X, or you can hit the delete key. I come from Blender, so I'm used to hitting X to delete stuff. So I have my shortcut keys set to that. And what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to change this to a sun and sky. So in lights, we're going to drag in sun and sky. Okay, so for starters, it's way too bright. So when we add in the sun and sky, it may come in super bright for you. So how to change that is go to the directional light here, and you can see we are set to 75,000 LUTs. So we're going to go ahead and turn that down, and we'll have our basic sky. So next up, we want to add in some clouds to make our sky a little bit more interesting. So go ahead and go into the import or add button, whatever they call that, and we'll go to visual effects, and we'll drag in a volumetric cloud. And there we go, we got some clouds enabled. Now you can change this to however you like. You have all of your settings here for the altitude, the actual layer height, how tall the clouds seem to appear. You can adjust the horizon line there. I usually clean it up. You can see it's a little jaggedy and dirty there. I usually turn this down to kind of clean it up, to leave myself that straight horizon line. And then I fill in the world in the dark area here. But there's a lot of different settings that you can play with that do a lot of different things. And that's pretty much how you make the clouds. So back in the sun and sky, you can see we have a couple different things associated with the sun and the sky. What we're primarily going to focus on here is the sun sky itself. And this is where you can kind of get some different times of the day. You can see the sun moving there. You can go with the latitude and longitude. That'll kind of rotate the sun along the y-axis. And the latitude pretty much does it along the x-axis, if I believe so, or the z-axis for up and down. But all these different options will give you different types of lighting, so kind of just go with whatever type of lighting you're wanting. You can also go for a time of year here. So this would be August, and the day would be the 21st. Kind of cool to play around with. It doesn't change a lot, but it does give you these slight variations. You can change the solar time. So I'm just going to go for more of a sunset type of environment. So I'm just going to turn the latitude down here. And we can kind of play with wherever we want the sun. I'll have the sun kind of off to the corner there, which you can change with all these different options here. So pretty much just like that. That's what we are kind of looking for, that type of sunset environment. Again, you can kind of play with this however you want. And again, you can adjust the clouds however you may want as well. If you want taller clouds in the sky or if you want them really low to the horizon line. But if you bring these down, you might have to adjust your horizon line and clean it up a little bit more again. You can play around with that. So let's go ahead and move on to the dirt. So for the ground, we're going to go ahead and use this cube that's already here, and we're going to apply a material to it. Now, this tutorial does use Quixel Megascans, but you can add any type of textures that you want from anywhere. Just drag and drop them into your content browser here, and then you can make a material out of them and apply it to your mesh. But for this tutorial, I'm going to use Quixel Bridge. And for the ground, we're going to go ahead and use this forest floor material, which for their file name system also has this associated with it. So if you want this exact ground, when you go to the search bar, type in forest floor and then VLKICCC, and it'll get you this floor. So this isn't going to be the focal point of the video. You're not actually really even going to see this in the animation, so we don't need to go with the highest quality available. We can just go with medium, if not low. We just need it for filler content, really. Any types of reflections, or maybe your camera will pick it up. Either way, you do need to have some kind of ground material to make it look interesting. So I'm going to download it, and then I'm going to add it. And you can see it's already added here. And the nice thing is it's already made into material for us. So we'll just drag and drop that onto our cube here. And there we go. So you can see it's already set. Now it looks like it already has some tiling enabled. But the tiling is not enabled. Not really sure why that's happening. But if you did want to make it a little bit smaller or whatever, you'd go to tiling offset and you'd open this and you could make this smaller, and you can see it updates there. So I'm going to actually turn it down so we don't get too much repetition there. Like I said, this is not the focal point of the scene, so it doesn't really matter how big or really any of these settings. Doesn't really matter. But I'm just going to go ahead and save that to that material. And that's pretty much the floor. So next up, we're going to go ahead and move to the vegetation part, the really fun, interesting part of the tutorial. And for the vegetation that I'm going to use, it is called thatching grass. And again, with their file name system, it adds this part to it. So that's UDDMCGBIA to get this exact one. Or you can just type in thatching grass, and if you see this type of thumbnail, that's the one that I used in my personal one. So for this one, I am going to go a little bit higher quality because this is the focal length, or the focal point of our scene. So I'm going to go ahead and add that into Unreal and let Unreal do its thing. There we go. Just like that. Okay. So now we're going to paint them onto the overall scene. Now, I'm going to have a rock wall kind of in this portion of the scene, so I'm not really going to paint them into there. Okay? So, I'm going to go ahead and save it. Click here too, or Control S to save. And we're going to go ahead and move on to the foliage here. Now, this is where you can kind of paint into the scene and kind of get things going. So in the vegetation settings, you will see that all these are going to be unchecked. So you can go through and check them all if you want to use all of them, or if you want to use a certain amount. You can also shift and click to turn them all on and off, so you don't have to go through each one individually and turn it on. But in the settings here, you can select all of them, and we can control the settings for each of them. Okay, so we got all 20 selected, and you can see our brush here is a little big. So I'm going to turn down the brush size to about 200. And if we start to paint, you can see how they're going to be. So kind of far away, You got to be a little bit closer for the settings to come in, or for Unreal to build the scene. So we're preparing shaders, so computer lags a little bit for me when we're doing shaders. But you can see as we go away, they start to kind of fade and you kind of lose that quality. There is a setting to fix that, but I won't go over that in this video. There's more tutorials out there for that. We're going to be close anyway on our camera shots, so we're not really going to worry about that. So I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to turn up the size a little bit. I'm going to go from 1 to 2, and that's scaling on the X, and you can see they get a little bit bigger. So whatever type of size you're kind of looking for, I'll probably settle for a 2.5 right in the middle. And yeah, now this is the time where you can just have freedom to create however much you want. Just kind of paint over the whole area here. Get it nice and full. And we'll probably go with a little bit more here. So you can change the density here from 100 to maybe 150. Add a little bit more. And you can see each of the values for each one change. So I'm using 71 of these, 69 of these, 72 of these. So it just kind of changes whatever settings you end up changing. So if we go to 300, which you can manually override, you can really dense up the scene. Just like that. I won't add too much though, just kind of for this tutorial. Okay, so that's pretty much vegetation settings done, except for we need to enable wind. So wind is actually very easy to do. So we're going to head back to select mode, and with our static scene here, we're going to go ahead and go to the material instances. And this is where we're actually going to change the wind settings for each of the static meshes that we have. So we're going to double click on that to bring open the material editor. And in the material editor, you can see we have all of these settings for this. Apologies, I need to adjust my streaming pool quality. I'm already over budget. But for tutorial's sake, we're going to just enable the grass wind here and then change it from false to true. Okay, so we're going to start with these first three right here. So we're going to turn on wind intensity, wind height, and wind speed. Now I just want a nice soft wind, okay? So I'm going to change this to a 0.5, and I'm going to change the speed down a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and click on save. Okay. So if I move the window here, you can start to see we got a little bit of a breeze coming through our thatching grass there. It should be playing in here, but like I said, my computer is not the best. I don't have up-to-date hardware to keep up with real-time results. But you can see this is what we have. So we're going to take those settings and we're going to copy them to any other material instances that we have. Make sure you save it though before you close it. So we only have one more. So we're going to double click on that one and move this up real quick. Enable the grass wind. Make sure it's on. Let's select the first three. I'm going to change that to 0.5 and the other one to 0.3. Save it. I know those settings because it's what I used on the video that you saw at the beginning. Okay, so there you go. Now we have a nice soft breeze coming through our scene there. So to make this look a little bit better for us, and this is also a trick if you don't already know it, I'm going to turn up my streaming size here. So r.streaming pool size space, set it to 0. That way all of our textures come through and it's using all of it. Okay, there we go. Very cool. Okay, so now for the background filler object, I'm going to go ahead and use this Nordic Beach Rocky Ground. And again, this is the file path to where you get it. If you just type in Nordic Beach Rocky Ground though, and you should see this one at the start. So I always select the nanite and I'm going to go ahead and add that to the scene. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add that to the scene now. I've imported it from Quixel Bridge, and I'm just going to drag and drop it into the scene here. All right. So I'm going to use the hotkeys W, E, and R. W to move, E to rotate, and R to scale. Now you can see it's kind of snapping. I usually turn off all the snapping here just so I can physically get exactly what I'm looking for here. All right. I kind of just put these into the ground here a little bit, just so we kind of have that little bit of a background. Okay, so I want to fix the lighting a little bit. We still have this light source that's kind of throwing it off. It makes it look like a sun is coming from this direction and behind us. So in this light source, I'm just going to rotate this so it kind of matches where our sun is. So that's looking a little bit better. It's looking where it should be now. Okay, so let's go ahead and add in a camera. Before we add in a camera, I can see here that the lighting needs to be rebuilt. So I'm just going to go ahead and rebuild the lighting only. You can see that we have lighting quality. I'm just going to turn it up a little bit for us, and then I'm going to build that lighting real quick. Okay, so the lighting build is done. You might get a bunch of errors like this. Instant meshes don't yet support unique static light for each LOD. Lighting on LOD 1 and up may be incorrect unless light map UVs are all the same for LODs. Basically, it can't do individual lighting for each LOD, at least not yet. But that's okay. Our lighting still looks pretty decent. Okay, so let's go ahead and add in a camera and kind of get wrapping up on this tutorial. So we're going to go ahead and select Send Camera Actor, and you can just click on that there, and that'll bring in a camera. And so we can go ahead and go to that camera view by going up here and then going to Send Camera Actor. So now we are in the view, and you can still move around like you normally would in Unreal Engine with WASD and holding down the right button on your mouse. If you didn't already know that. Hopefully you already knew that, because I didn't say that at the beginning of the tutorial. Okay, so we're just going to have a shot about right here. And you can set this to kind of however you want. I'm going to open up the lens and the focus settings here in the camera. And you can eye drop in wherever you want, or you can manually change this slider here. All right, so I'm going to go kind of into some of these right here. There's a lot of ghosting going on. If anyone in the comments knows how to get rid of that, it was kind of a problem that I had in the original video of mine as well. Kind of this weird ghosting going on each one. So unfortunately, I should know, but I don't know how to get rid of that. So if anyone knows how to get rid of that, that would be great. So in the film playback, you have a bunch of different settings for different things. I really like playing with the IMAX sometimes. That gives you that really big sensor size. But we'll just stay with the 16:9 digital zoom. And we can turn down the f-stop if we want more depth of fields. Or you can turn it up. Whichever works for you. This is kind of all up to you at this point. You can draw a debug focus plane to kind of see where your focus is set to at the time. We'll play with the focal length here too. I'm just going to tighten it up a little bit to 41. And there you go. I think I'm going to change some of the sun and sky here to go a little bit more sunset type. And I'm going to send the sun off to this side over here. And so we'll have to change our light source a little bit here too to kind of reflect that off to the side there. And there we go, everyone. That is pretty much the tutorial. If you want a little bit more here, you could go to visual effects and drop in an exponential height fog, and that'll kind of give you some atmospheric fog into the scene. What you want to do is click on volumetric fog, and if we kind of go out from our camera and kind of eject there, you can see we've got this big gradient of a sky now. Again, apologies for the computer. I don't have the best of computers here to show you this, but you can pretty much see what the fog adds into the scene. Just an overall haze that we can kind of work with. And you can add more or less if you want more of sky. It's completely up to you. There's a bunch of different options here for you to kind of play with. So that is it, everyone. That is how I made the scene that you can see right here in front of you. Very simple, very easy to do. I would love to see any renders that you guys come up with, and I hope you learned something from this tutorial. Thanks for watching, and I will see everyone in the next one.